Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is what HVAC stands for. And today we're going to get into that. Most people only think about heating, ventilation, and air conditioning when the air conditioning breaks in the middle of July. In places like Louisiana, that's not just uncomfortable, that's really an emergency. And in most apartment complexes, well, pretty much all in Louisiana in the summertime, a AC not working is a maintenance emergency. But behind every cool house, every restaurant kitchen, every hospital room, there's someone who understands how these systems work, and that's a HVAC technician. And for a lot of people, this trade becomes a path out of unstable jobs, low wages, or feeling stuck, especially now with the rise of layoffs and them blaming it on AI. Even though me personally, I feel that a company can choose other options, and if they choosing to take people jobs to replace them with technology, that's probably a lie, most likely, because a lot of the jobs that they're saying they're replacing, AI is not really that good at doing them. Nevertheless, the path into HVAC isn't about learning tools and systems only. It's also about discipline, habits, and protecting your focus while you're building something bigger. Today, we're going to go through a walkthrough from the zero experience to a technician. And also keep in mind, too, whenever you changing your career and just changing, making major changes in your life, you have to keep your habits in mind. Because if you have a job that with a set schedule where you able to like while out in your off time or just have like a uncertain life, like I see many people every day when they get off work, they it's not planned. It's literally reactive. Like if somebody call them, they'll go somewhere and they might stay out late. Or if they don't have any plans, they might shop online to stay comfortable or get on social media. Like there's no structure. And when it comes to careers, for them to come in as easy as possible, you want to have structure because it's going to be difficult if you're still trying to juggle the fact that your phone is never on silent. People could call and text you at any time of the night. Whenever you have free time, you have people around you who know your days, your off days, or your off times, and they're trying to fill it up with things for you to do. When it comes to careers, that's gonna have to be cut out. And if you party, whatever your partying is, you're gonna have to put a lid on it because hangovers, smelling like different things, and all of those types of things, you don't want to start a career with that. If that's what you do now, figure out a way, if it's not addiction, to quit it. And if it's addiction, I have resources at the bottom of the video for you to look into, because no matter what you were doing or what you did, you don't have to make that who you are forever. The first, it all it takes is one day to change. Just like it took one day to get in whatever situation you currently are in, it takes one day to get out of it. As far as the start, the process itself may take longer, and every now and then you will get discouraged, you will be drained, you will be challenged, because depending on who you are to the people around you, some people may either not believe in you, which that's not your problem, or they may fear losing you. So they'll do anything to keep you around, and it may come in the form of sabotaging, discouraging, delaying. Like I had one time when I was in high school, after Katrina, I got a job making $16 an hour at McDonald's in 2005. And the person who was supposed to bring me to start my first day purposely offered me a ride and took me somewhere way far away to where I didn't make it to work on time. So I couldn't get the job, only for them to tell me they thought I was too young to be working. But that wasn't their place to do that. That was something that I wanted to do because as a teenager, I knew I needed my own funding, because I'm not about to keep asking people for money as a child, because you know what I need for school. You should already have that. And nevertheless, that's an example of how a person can interrupt something that you already had planned for yourself. And it's easy. Like we are in a world where people are tricked into being transparent, but some things you got to keep to yourself. They made diaries for a reason. The word secret is a word for a reason. Like you have to have something to yourself. People will see it when they see it. And then another toxic thing is the whole pop out culture. Your goal should never be about impressing people or showing people or rising above people, because that means your life is centered around outside forces. If people have those reactions naturally, that's between them and God and Key Glock. They don't have nothing to do with you. Your focus should always be yourself, because when you have other people in your view, you lose sight of what's in front of you. That's like if you driving and instead of watching the road, you sightseeing while you the driver. You know how that ends. So what HVAC actually is, HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. The technicians install, maintain, and repair systems that control temperature and airflow in buildings. That means working on things like air conditioners, furnaces. Furnaces is if you have gas, like if you have gas, not gas like in your stomach, but if you have a gas system in your house, you can get a furnace for your heater so that when the heater comes on, it uses a separate system. And then refrigeration systems, which is the cooling part of the AC, ventilation systems, which is the ductwork and all of the things that get the air circulating through the house, and thermostats and electrical components. It's a mix of mechanical skill, electrical knowledge, and troubleshooting. And unlike a lot of industries, HVAC skills stay in demand. People can delay buying clothes or electronics. But when the air conditioning stops working in July, that problem gets fixed immediately. Not to mention the amount for my money chasers. You wouldn't have to chase money if you had an HVAC. The money would literally chase you. I could think of minimum just off of the Nextdoor app, 100 people right now who need HVAC service, and you can charge whatever you want. If you find people like for me, I'm more of a good Samaritan head ass, so I would either give senior citizens free or discounted services depending on what's going on, or if it was a big enough problem in my area, I would get a grant writer to write a grant with the government for the senior citizens or for the disabled people so that my business would get paid. And also the to be able to, because you could do stuff for free, but when it come to like HVAC, you using some very expensive materials, so you wouldn't really be able to do too much for free unless you just fixing, like replacing parts and stuff like that. That would be something that would cost a lot of money. But nevertheless, you it's a lot of opportunity. I've seen maintenance men when I was a groundskeeper that had side jobs fixing ACs around the neighborhood, because we were in an apartment complex, but we were surrounded by a subdivision. And baby, when it will warm up, they will be coming back to work fanning their money. They made $300 and $400 on their lunch break just fixing stuff. So it's a very good skill to have. And us as people, we should know how to work on the things we use. Like you don't need to be a full scale mechanic, but you should at minimum, for your safety, for your independence, be able to change your tire or know how to. You may not have the strength to, because sometimes the lug nuts are on too tight, but you should at least know how to do it. In the event if someone else is doing it, that person is not able to mess up something or leave a lug nut, because it's very common for people to leave missing lug nuts. You should also be able to know how to check your oil pressure. And if you're unaware of any of those things, we are in the digital age now, so all you have to do is just put the make and model of the vehicle and be able to troubleshoot. Like you don't need to be a computer and stick your arm in the computer area of the vehicle and read it, but at least know what sound means what. Know the difference between a car not starting because of an alternator or the battery. Which the difference usually is with the alternator, the car will start, but it'll die while it's running. And with a battery, it won't start at all. So that, and just learning how to change locks, learning how to patch up a window. It like because all of these things that we're going through are good trades and skills to have if you study in the specific path, but you never want to be someone that doesn't know anything, especially if it's something that you've been around, and don't always give a gender role to who should know it. If you're a man, you shouldn't not know how to use your stove because that's a woman's job, and vice versa for women. Like The person like people, if y'all want to model after people, I know y'all love the flashy part of it, but also start finding people that look like they're at peace, that they have mental health, that they have emotional regulations, and copy off of them. And if you copy off of them, you will notice that people who are at peace, they release their control over things around them, like the economy, like the people in their life, like the weather, things like that. And they don't let that take away from their happiness. So their happiness is based off of the controllables they have, which would be what you respond to, what you put effort towards, what you avoid, and what you allow to carry with you in your mind and in your heart, and what wounds you're gonna decide to heal or not. And the path from zero experience would be, if someone starts with absolutely zero experience, the path into HVAC usually looks like this. Me turning off the screen. um, Learn the basics, earn an EPA certification, get hired as a helper or apprentice, gain field experience, become a technician or specialist. Some people do this through trade school, others learn directly through apprenticeships. Either way, the biggest classroom is always the field. So, what that means is when you're in school, you could look at 1,000 pages worth of information, but the biggest value is when you're actually applying the information, because that's when it's going to matter. That's a lot of trade fields are like that, where you have book work, but when you're in the actual field, you have to stay focused. If it's an emergency and maybe you need to do an emergency shut off, you have to be able to take deep breaths and not let the mood of the moment be your mood. If the mood of the moment is panic, you don't need to panic. You have to balance out the mood of panic by staying calm. And it's easier said than done, but one of the easiest ways that I personally use is breathing deep in the nose, holding, and then exhaling through the mouth, even while I'm moving. And it's kind of like you smoking the air. And it feels like it, like for people who like hookah and all of that other stuff. It feels like that. And it helps to stay grounded. And it's a reminder that if you learning in school, like some people have difficulty in a class setting because we have different learning styles. Some people's learning styles don't fit with class learning because class learning styles are not wide range. Contrary to popular belief, the way that they teach in class, like the generic way, only is suitable for certain people. That's why instructors have to actually figure out creative ways to get the information to people who don't learn the general way. That's why you've had teachers who came up with raps and rhymes and different things like that, because that caters to the people who learn differently. You may learn differently. So remember that the biggest classroom is the field, and that's where you can watch stuff on the internet to encourage you and get you acclimated. If you have any HVAC people around you, depending on how they coming off, maybe you can ask them if you feel comfortable, different questions and things like that. Or if there's any apprenticeships in your area through the local HVAC companies, you can always ask them those questions as well. And learning the basics. Let's see. So learning the basics, many technicians start with a trade school program or a community college certificate. These programs usually take between 6 months and a year. Students learn refrigeration cycles, electrical systems, airflow and duct design, HVAC tools, and safety. But here's something important: the technical information isn't usually the hardest part. The hardest part is staying focused long enough to finish. And that's anything with school, because with school, the idea of what we're going to school for is easy and beautiful, and we see the finished product. But when it comes to being in that oven or being in that slow cooker and actually being processed, it can be discouraging, because the end game is one moment that we are trying to get to. But every day before that is a different battle, because not only are we going to school, or learning things, we still have our actual life there. So if you have any type of grief you dealing with, you carrying that while learning. You carrying responsibility of family while learning. You taking you clear carrying responsibility of friendships and work obligations, and depending on I just took a sip of water. Depending on what the circumstances of you being in school. So if it's for a person who maybe doesn't have that much time to change, if they are currently laid off, I would recommend probably seeing about an apprenticeship, because apprenticeships you get paid as you work, so you still will have money coming in. Or if not, coming up with a plan, finding entry level jobs in a different field that you could babysit while you get your degree so you could still have a stable income. Like, get creative. Don't be those people who get stuck with only focusing on the degree or the current field that they lost their job in. You can do that because but you can do whatever you want, really. Free will, that's my motto. However, if you were laid off, a lot of times there's hundreds to thousands of other people in that same field, which means the recruiters get a lot of backlog. So even if they would pick you, you waiting. So my thing is, when money stop, and if you don't have the luxury of a savings that can keep you stable for months, then you just have to keep it going, because I would rather take a temporary pay cut and still have all of my things taken care of versus letting pride take me for a ride and then I lose everything and I have nowhere to hide. So, and study distractions, because I consider, like, when I'm making this content, I'm not making it just to give generic information. Majority of the writing is my wording. Like, with the factual things, I just copy and paste those because, baby, I don't play with facts. And I see enough channels that just give information from out of their imagination, and I will never be that, because I really care about whoever receives the information I'm giving. Even when I was telling story times, there's always a lesson in something I'm talking about, and my hope is always that maybe I could save somebody a lesson, because there's nothing better than skipping some lessons. Some lessons, baby, you really could skip them. Lessons when it comes to handling money, lessons when it comes to dating, relationships, friendships, family, baby, them lessons could be skipped. They really can. But I think it's just a lot of internal distractions we have that make us question things that are actually true. That's why it's so easy to manipulate people with lies, because lies are more believable than the truth. Because people have been lied to so long, a lot of people's views of reality are false. So when a person is manipulative, they first use all of the connections in your brain that they know you ride for, which is more than likely your religion, your view on family, your view on your culture. They know you ride for those things. So when they're lying to you, they make a bridge between the lie and your culture, which means that you then feel like that is a part of you. That's why when people debunk things, a lot of times the general public don't handle it. Like, when the first person to tell it, to reveal something, is always the one to get chopped up. Really, the first five people. It takes like up to 10, 20 people, 20 repeat mistakes for people to realize stuff. But even though that's the case, I know they may have people out there that are like me when I was younger. Once I was 7 years old. No, but I know they probably have people out there like me that can actually hear stuff and take it and use it, because I've learned a lot of things from people that prevented me from going through so many things. Even though I've went through things, and I think that we all probably feel like we went through things. For the people who went through things, we all felt like we went through like the biggest thing. For the people who feel like they didn't go through anything, then self-explanatory. But the study distractions for college age students, I think the age grouping thing isn't accurate, because my 1,000 years of living, I see that really people and behaviors have no age group. You have kids with the intelligence of an adult, and you have adults with the maturity of children, many of them actually. But anyways, for college age students, distractions can show up everywhere: phones, social media, late nights, friends who are more focused on partying than building a future. Pause. First of all, I know people, let me get back up here right quick. I know people 30, 40, 50, 60, still on that, still on that, still on that. Somebody just asked me the other day, "Oh, you ain't going to the second line?" Like, what? Like, am I getting paid to go there? Like, it's beautiful for people who into that. My whole problem is stop thinking everybody's into what you into. If a person just say no, y'all be forcing people to talk negative about the thing that you like. Like, if I just say no, that's cool, and be like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Or, I wish you could have been there. Or it would have been fun." Leave it alone. Like, even with food, whenever a person declines something, you don't. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with oysters? What's wrong with squid? What's wrong with octopus? I didn't say anything was wrong with it. I just said I'm good. Anyways, back to your scheduled programming. So when it comes to the world, it will always offer you easy entertainment instead of difficult progress. That's why it's important to set boundaries with your time, study blocks, limited phone usage, and surrounding yourself with people who are building something too. See, that's the thing, the problem here though, and surrounding yourself with people who are building something too is that people are delusional, baby. Everyone thinks that they're building something. Everyone thinks they are doing the right thing. Everyone thinks that they're a good person, with exceptions. Put an asterisk on all of the everyone's. Majority, I guess I'll say. Many men. Many men, they think they the best, but so you're gonna have to go based off what you see. It's no talking. That's why you can't talk when it comes to these things. If you're dealing with people who do not have emotional regulation, accountability, self-awareness, or any tools that can let them know that a lot of things that's going on, they're adding to it, it's worthless to talk to them. All they do is just get emotional, pick random words out of the statement you make, and then throw it back at you. Or depending on who the person is, they try to play whatever card they have based off of y'all connection. So it's going to come a point in time to where you really going to have to focus on your discipline. You may not have the luxury of just completely changing your environment. You may live in an area that doesn't have that many people. You may not have transportation. It's so many different things. You could be living with the people that's holding you back. Like, so that's why we have to always make sure we pick our battles. Like, pick them. The way that y'all crash out, and y'all is the people on the internet that crash out, not everyone. Y'all is the people that it applies to. Y'all crash out at the blink of an eye, only to lose monetization, lose channels, lose jobs, lose lives, lose custody of kids, like lose money, lose freedom, lose businesses. Like, it's all it like we have to start picking battles, and when we have situations involving other people, by all means rethink anything that you think that you're about to do when it comes to another person, especially if it's in the heat of a situation. That ego is the thing that pushes people to quickly respond so they can feel that aha. But sometimes you can cut your nose trying to spite your face. Like, and that's the worst thing you can do. That's a cliche too. And also discipline is a muscle. If you are a person that in adulthood, possibly due to a childhood of lack or maybe a childhood of being spoiled. For whatever reason, you don't tell yourself no as an adult. It was probably cute when you first started accessing money, but at some point it's gonna get old, baby. You can't keep going broke because of impulses. And the thing about it is, them impulses you doing with shopping, you don't realize that impulsive behavior it impacts your whole body, your whole human. So you thinking it's just shopping, because that's the only noticeable time that you're impulsive. But impulsive behaviors trickle down into your emotions. You may not realize when you having phantom thoughts, because us as humans, we have a lot of the random phantom thoughts from different sources in our body. You picking up phantom thoughts and you acting on it, not realizing that wasn't even a thought for you to even acknowledge, or you're making rash decisions. You probably have gotten into crazy deals with loans and car notes. Maybe you're like me, younger me, and you may have had experience with timeshares. Like it's something that it takes time for to get to the end, but it only takes seconds to just reflect. Like reflect, reflect, reflect. Actually, if people made promises to themselves when they bored to start reflecting, you probably wouldn't even care about your phone as much as you did, because you really would notice the power you have over your life. Because all it is when you don't have accountability, when you don't have agency over your life is a journey in a vehicle. You could pick the vehicle. You might like Tesla, you might like the Ford Raptors, you might like the Dodge Chargers with the bad transmissions. It's your choice, baby. I don't care about that. But your life is a and your journey is a vehicle. When you're a child, or yeah, when you're a minor, or when you're someone that's in the care of another person, which could be at any age, if you're in someone else's care, they're the driver temporarily. Whenever that person is not responsible for you no more, and you are responsible for yourself, you're supposed to be the driver. But the way things happen when people do not self reflect, when people do not take accountability, when people live in repeat behavioral pattern cycles, your car is being driven by no one. And that's why you constantly wreck. It's not self driving, it's on probably autopilot, definitely autopilot, but every time the road curve, you going off the road. You get back on the road and you still not driving the car, because every time we blaming other people for stuff, that means they drive the car. If you lose your job for your own actions, you drove off the road. If you lose your job due to someone else's actions, someone ran you off the road. Nevertheless, you're still off the road, and that means that your goal is now to get back on the road. But if you drove off the road and you're blaming your job, like people who are very combative at work, like overly combative for no reason, and they end up getting fired. If they don't admit that that was their nature, they're going to go to the next job, and that's going to keep happening. And then the storyline is going to be that everywhere they go, people picking with them. But then it's going to get stronger, and the driving is going to get more reckless, to where then you're going to start falling out with people in your real life. Because some of y'all hearing this may have already experienced this, all five of y'all. But when it comes to falling out with people, the person who falls out with everybody, they never stop. It gets worse and worse and worse. And it's not in a way that y'all say on social media, as far as with all of this stuff, because that be BS, no shade. But in real life, with actual people who are violent, who are argumentative, who may have negative habits, like they steal from people, they break promises, they're users, they're gossipy, they messy, they two-faced, they sleep with people, boyfriend, girlfriend, like those things, those habits eventually destroy your life. Because when you drive off the road and you have no more road to go, now you're driving through the grass and hitting houses and hitting people. So when it comes to taking agency over your life, yes, our parents failed us. For everybody who feel that way, yes, it's true. It's a fact actually. And the crazy part is their parents failed them, but their parents failing them didn't give them an excuse to fail us. Especially because some of them are still failing us. And that's unfortunate, but we have to understand that our life does not revolve around our family. Some people make their family their life, and that could either be positive or negative depending on the family, the dynamic, and what it contribute, how they affect each other. But we have to understand that it's our journey, and every time we verbalize something negative out loud about ourselves, we become a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why it's very imperative to stop the negative self-talk. But most of these behaviors are mirrored by the people around us, especially online. So it just reinforces itself. So when you have people coming and saying all of these different things about mental health, accountability, and things like that, it's more annoying because the majority is not living like that. And when you it psychologically, if you go against a group, the group will rather get rid of you than it would to go back on something they believe in. Because people beliefs are treated like their safety. If you attack a belief, a person's nervous system sees you as a threat. So yeah, another distraction is work schedules, family responsibilities, bills, mental fatigue after long days. For adults returning to school or learning a trade, the challenges in partying is exhaustion. Baby, they don't know New Orleans adults. Because that's the challenge for most people. It's so many people that's been partying. They had kids, still partying. Life changed, still partying. Family members died, still partying. And that's why progress can sometimes come from small, consistent effort. 1 hour of study, one chapter, one practice exam. Slow progress is still progress. I always say start off at the bare minimum. Whatever you could do bare minimum repeatedly. If you only have 1 minute a day to read a sentence from the HVAC website or read a sentence from whatever you're studying, eventually you're going to dive back in. But one way to slip into it is to tell yourself 1 minute and then just forget about time and go until you get tired. Kind of like if you like use the manipulation society uses on you, especially retailers. The amount of manipulation they do at any given time, no matter how they communicating with people, is insane. But learn to manipulate yourself to achieve your goals. Pretend that you think it's fun, or find somebody you know. If they really really want you to win, ask them if it's okay for you to gossip to them about HVAC instead of gossiping about Kiki baby daddy and Lily cousin and cousin Fate taking Terry man. See if they'll just be a listening ear while you gossip about HVAC. That way you could be like, oh friend, I learned this and this and this and this and this. And that way it'll help you study. And let's see, the daily work life for HVAC technicians, they spend most of their day diagnosing, repairing, and installing heating and cooling systems in home, offices, and industrial buildings. The work is hands on and often involves troubleshooting electrical components, compressors, thermostats, and refrigerant systems. And they travel between jobs, work indoors and outdoors, use specialized diagnostic tools, and interact with homeowners and business managers. Okay, and now the schedule. The schedule can vary depending on the company and season. Typically 40 to 50-hour work weeks, busy summers and winters, possible on-call emergency work. Also, too, with maintenance emergencies, sometimes you may get calls in the middle of the night as well. But once you get settled into being an HVAC person, all of that stuff will become normal. Or if you someone who already has jobs with random scheduling, that may already be something you used to. And some people struggle with focus because of ADHD. Others struggle because of something called imposter syndrome. That voice says, I'm not smart enough. I don't belong here. I'm going to mess this up. The truth is, almost every skilled technician started out feeling clueless. The difference between beginners and professionals is time and repetition. And if you struggle with focus, strategies like studying in short intervals, writing things down, learning visually, practicing hands on can make a huge difference. It definitely can. Skills and personality fit. HVAC tends to suit people who like mechanical and electrical problem solving, prefer active work instead of sitting all day, enjoy variety in their work environment, are comfortable learning continuously. We actually learn continuously just living, but I think us as humans, we don't consider things learning if it's naturally done. through like processes versus if it's something that's written and visual, it'll feel like, oh, we learned something. And apprenticeship after basic training, well, actually, one of the first real credentials HVAC technicians earn is the EPA 608 certification. This certification allows technicians to legally handle refrigerants. Without it, you cannot work on most air conditioning systems. So you need a EPA 608 certification to handle the refrigerants, which is probably coolant. For there are several types, but most technicians aim for EPA Universal, which allows them to work on all systems types. For many people, the certification becomes the first real step from learning into working. And then apprenticeships. After basic training, most new technicians start as helpers or apprentices. This is where the real education happens. You learn diagnosing problems, installing equipment, troubleshooting electrical issues, dealing with customers, and sometimes you learn the hard way. Hot attics, long days, heavy equipment. But those experiences are also where confidence starts to build. Also, too, a cheat code to HVAC. I just remembered this from being a former groundskeeper is to you can get a HVAC fully funded through an apartment complex. Each apartment complex company may have different rules. You may find one that may even hire you with no experience and do OTJ with you on the job training and lead you up to the certification and all of the other stuff to qualify. Or you may be like me, working in an apartment complex, Cedarwood Apartments, with a leasing manager and assistant manager that didn't do their job. They couldn't keep assistant managers. The leasing manager was lived right next to the office and was late every single day. Took as many off days as she wanted. The maintenance man was selling refrigerators, and when people like if you moved out your house, he would mark your refrigerator as broken and then sell it in the neighborhood. And then the other maintenance man used to drink beer and drive around the neighborhood while on the clock. But for whatever reason, Jer- Jeremiah wasn't good enough to get an HVAC certification after I had spent how many years there? And immediately after I left, they started getting complaints because nobody was cleaning up as good as I did. But I ended up going offshore after that. So I wasn't tripping off of that. But I say that to say basically with apartment complexes, it's like any other job. You have it's smaller, so it may be peaceful, but you have egos. You have egos. You have people who are nosy, who messy. You have people that's two faced, just like anywhere else. But it's just at an apartment complex, it's a little bit more intense because the leasing people be on edge about their stats and whether or not the apartment's getting sold. The maintenance men, some of them be lacking on their job and then they get overwhelmed when too many apartments call at one time. Or sometimes it's not even the maintenance. The owners of the neighborhood may be neglecting to do specific upgrades. So the neighborhood may be outdated, which requires more maintenance, or they may be having people move into apartments with huge defects that they just tried to paint over. Like I'll never forget they had an apartment and they painted over the roaches. Like like legit had roaches painted into the walls. Like that was insane. Anyways, so changes to social life. We're adults. Like if you are able to maintain the same social life for years, shout out to you. Because one thing people don't talk about is how career growth can change your social life. When you start focusing on learning the trade, saving money, and building stability, not everyone around you will understand. Some friends will support you, others might feel uncomfortable watching you grow. Sometimes the people closest to you may even pressure you to slow down. That's when it helps to remember the bigger picture. You're not abandoning people, you are building a future. Again, back to the emotional and mental part of it. If a person if a person in your life is not aware of themselves and the autonomy that you are yourself and they are themselves, and that no matter what you do, if they truly love you, you should be allowed to do whatever you want and they should not stop you, make you feel uncomfortable, make you feel guilty about it. They can tell you that they'll miss you and that, blah, blah, blah. But trying to prevent and trying to shift things, that is a sign that that person does not realize what is happening. Cognitive dissonance is coming into play, and also they're feeling a threat to the change that you're making, and they're not understanding why you can't be the person their brain has remembered you to be, which is the the predetermined program. That's why whenever things about us change, people notice it because their brain already has a profile of us. And when we start doing things that don't fit that profile, the brain is like, okay, we have two options. We can either update this profile, which I don't feel like because the brain is wired for comfort, or we can get some adrenaline going and try to get this profile back to the way we remember it. So if a person not mature enough to see, like for me, anytime I've had friends get in relationships or move away and stuff like that, I definitely miss them. But I understood that this is not about me. This is not about me at all. Like I am a accessory to their life. I'm not the main part. I'm not the entree. I'm not the master bedroom. Like I am an accessory. I'm a background dancer in their life. Like I'm not. So even though we love each other, blah blah blah, if I was to feel a type of way, that would mean that I'm probably lonely. This person was filling a void, and now that they're gone, that void is going to have to be faced, which means that that's a whole nother journey I have to go through. And now I have a less of an ally to help me with it. But and then for workplace boundaries, when you enter a new job or apprenticeship, it's important to protect your reputation. Two habits that cause problems for new workers are excessive phone use, oversharing personal information. Good example is social media. Phones can easily make someone look distracted or unreliable, and oversharing with coworkers can sometimes create unnecessary workplace drama. It's better to build your reputation through consistent work and professionalism. Okay, I will tell this because this has happened at every job I've ever been at. Not to me though. Baby, don't tell them people at work nothing about y'all personal life. Them people, everybody, Planet Fitness, offshore, multiple offshore companies, call centers, men's warehouse, Wells, the apartment complex, the cruise ship. When I worked for American Cruise Line, y'all be telling people wild private information about yourself, and I don't understand why y'all think it's gonna stay in between two people, because number one, the listener already feel like it's too juicy, so they be texting people what you saying, why you talking, baby, don't trust them people at work. And if you got to call in, give them people as little information as possible, as little, and also be familiar with your company guidelines. And this not just for HVAC people, this for people who work anywhere. Get familiar with your company guidelines when it comes to what's appropriate for work, harassment, boundaries, all of this other stuff. Get familiar with that, because a lot of these workplaces don't follow those rules, and they let you get sucked into that mess, and they'll fire you for them rules because it's against the rules and they letting it rock. But once you get involved, and if you call yourself telling your business and then somebody tell it, and then you checking people at work like baddie baddie shot o'clock, they gonna fire your ass. And it'll be wrong, which if you have an attorney you can sue them. But you know your guidelines, set boundaries. It's so in a lot of these jobs, people see the new person as fresh meat. You ain't picked the side yet. It's kind of like Transformers, how Optimus and Megatron always rushing to get the landed vessel, because whoever get there first, that's who commoded. That's what people be doing at work. But the best way to do that is stay neutral. You can definitely stay neutral. It may feel like it's hard sometimes, but honestly, it's not. If you come in there being about your business, people gonna try you every now and then, but eventually they're gonna leave you alone. That's word to me, because they all thought I was. Every job I've always started off with a reputation of being quiet, which is far from the truth. But hey, that's how it go down. I ain't come here to smile in y'all face, and a lot of them people at work don't even be keeping up with their hygiene. So baby, back up, musty. It always be the musty people who won't come talking, or the person with the bad breath, or like this one dude off show, always talking crap about people, but he got space teeth, and each space in his teeth got plaque in it. Anyways, so well, workplace boundaries, that was a good segment. And then annoying parts, because we want to get to the annoying parts, because it's not all, we thinking about money, and that's how we get caught up. Like people were offshore. So many people quit their first day, their first week offshore, because all they thought about was the money, but they ain't think about the seasickness that some of them got, especially for people who drink. If you drinking alcohol, your stomach acid is higher than the average person. So when you go on ships, it's easier for you to get seasick because all that extra acid just shaking, like a salt shaker. So even good careers come with frustrations, difficult customers, long hours during peak seasons, equipment failures, and coworkers who don't pull their weight. The key is remembering that no job is perfect, but some jobs offer a much stronger long-term path than others. And trades like HVAC can provide stability that many industries cannot. I would imagine with difficult customers, it may more than likely be frustration from having AC issues, I think. And then some AC issues causes roof leaks and all of that. So I would definitely study de-escalating situations in them situations because at least in those situations, those are savable. People who are frustrated due to the situation, they as long as you give them guarantee, you let them know that you understand and listen. Please don't be them podcast people who always cutting people off because you think you know what they about to say. And you should, like, for me, I've dealt with a lot of angry customers over the years cross fields. So I've noticed that you every now and then you'll get that unicorn psychopath that really just want to get you out of body and they'll try as hard as possible. But majority of the people are just humans who are overwhelmed. And the more you let them talk, the more they calm down because they just want to be heard. Most frustrated people are frustrated because they don't feel heard. That's why people who are not as literate and can't form sentences or can't express emotions, their favorite emotion is anger because anger is kind of like when you let the air out of a pressure cooker, how it whistles, or like how a train steams or a teapot steams. That's literally the same thing, people. And you may also experience coworkers who don't pull their weight. The key is remembering that no job is perfect, but some jobs offer a much stronger long-term path than others. And trades like HVAC can provide stability that many industries cannot. And the challenges working in heat, attics, rooftops, busy seasons can mean long hours, requires ongoing certification. So it's kind of similar to a driver's license in the fact that it always needs to be renewed. Now, the time frame of renewal is not as similar as driver's license. That's a comparison that may be familiar to most people because I was going to say offshore certifications, but that ain't going to be familiar to me. And then as income grows, what it's like is the basics about the ways that you can attain your certification. I'll leave that up as I narrate this. As income grows, another challenge appears: lifestyle creep. That's when spending increases every time your paycheck increases. New cars, expensive habits, constant upgrades. The danger is that someone earning good money can still end up financially stuck if their spending rises just as fast. Learning to save, invest, and control spending is just as important as the learning trade itself. Yes, because with money coming in fast, depending on what your money situation was before that, it could be compelling to spend. Not to mention, if you also building your credit or if you have good credit, those offers never stop. Those offers are intentional. That do y'all realize why it's so hard to get rid of ads? Like even from coming to your house, like because the temptation is real. Not to mention, peer pressure is stronger than advertisement because how many things have no commercial but sell out all of the time just from people buying, seeing other people with it. I may be wrong, but I don't think I've ever saw a Stanley Cup commercial on television before. And it's just so with lifestyle creep, you have to build the discipline, but you also have to want what you want more than you have to want what you need more than what you want because you need to be a person that is not in the situation you in right now in the future. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy like a lot of those people once they hit 30s and that alcoholic or druggy phase really sets in because they really feel like their life is over and they wasted their 20s and all of this other stuff. But that's so unfair because we wasted we did our 20s based off of what we knew. And like some people, parents is not putting them on game like they should, because as a parent, your child should know minimum 50% of everything you know about navigating life, just from conversation, just from spending time with them. But neither here nor there. The danger is that someone earning good money can still end up financially stuck if the spending rises fast. And I always remind people, every time they have a downturn offshore, people exit this reality. They self exit every single time, because people will go from 50,000 to 100,000 to some people was making 300,000 before some of those downturns, and their lifestyle matched that. They had probably $100,000 worth of bills every year, not to mention spending the other 200,000. Like some people had car notes for their whole family. Like one captain had a car note for him, a car note for his wife, and a car note for his three children each. So it's like if you can stay aware, because sometimes emotions make us go in autopilot, because our brain that's why multitasking is bad. When your brain get overwhelmed, it starts doing pre-programmed things. So that's why it's always good to stay focused. And that's why, if you notice, when you're in a sales environment, salespeople always try to overwhelm you with information, because it makes your decision making weaker. But and also too, that's why certain stores are set up certain ways, because they know that people who need groceries, like Target, for example, they always have their groceries at the back, because they know that by the time you make it to the groceries, you're gonna be tempted to buy all those things. And if you beat the temptation heading there, you ain't gonna beat the temptation on the way back. And then if you beat that temptation while you're in line, you're gonna be tempted to get something too. And I notice too, people copycats, because I purposely have chocolate once a week. And when I get my weekly chocolate, I notice the people in line around me ain't even worried about it. But as soon as I get it, all of a sudden they're getting it. So some people, the mirror neurons, you got to get in control of your mirror neurons, because I'm in control of mine. It make me feel like I have psychic powers the way people be moving around. This the slide about the EPA certification. Type 1 is for small appliances. Type 2 is for high pressure systems. Type 3 is for low pressure systems. And then universal is all systems. And then after basic training, these are the different things people usually start as: HVAC, installer assistance, maintenance technician, apprentice. During this stage, you learn diagnostics, troubleshooting, installation, customer service, and most learning happens in that field. My slides got mixed up for whatever reason. I guess because I switched it from the MacBook to the iMac, but they were in order with the actual writing for whatever reason, and it's not no more. As people start succeeding financially, another strange dynamic sometimes appear. Pocket watches. Let me get that out, your little brother. Little brother, let me borrow $20 to tomorrow, brother. You got all that money, brother. You work all show, brother. Stay on. Stay on. I can borrow some money on. Hey, bro. Say, bro, let me borrow $50 to tomorrow, bro. Man, you HVAC and all that coming down trill, man. I'm just trying to pay the bill, man. I thought we was homeboys. People who suddenly become very interested in your money. Some may expect financial help, they all do. Others may pressure you to spend more than you should. The key is remembering that your success came from discipline and effort, and protecting that progress is part of the journey. That is why you need to differentiate between people who are having a hard time financially and broke people. Broke people are broke no matter what. They can have millions of dollars. They are so broke that they always end up back broke, because the brokenness in them is magnetically attached to being at the bottom. So no matter how hard they try, they will never not fail. But what the way they try to get around that karma, like y'all call it karma, the way they get around that is by attaching themselves to other people, because that other person blessings, they can now siphon that. But what ends up happening is what we see all of the time throughout the internet. People let in broke people in their vicinity, because the person pretended to be a person who was wealthy, and they never were wealthy on the inside. They've been broke on the inside. They were broke mentally, they were broke spiritually, they were broke emotionally. And what happens is those people influence the person with money or even sabotage them at times. And that's why character matters. We have to really review everyone in our life's character because we grandfathered our love for most people from childhood, and then as we grew up, we probably were forced to not judge people, so we overlooked very important key things, or we made excuses for the behaviors, or tried to, pacify it. And then as the years went on with these people, now it's the years. Oh, 10 years of this, 5 years of that. So we ignoring stuff, but we have to realize some people we're around, character and morally, they're corrupt. They're corrupt people, but they so weak, their corruption don't have that much reach. So it's not really that evident to us. And then some people, we may have known them to be weak and corrupt. And then as they gained power, the corruption grew. And they started doing more and more corrupt things. And then it was no more excuses for them. It's people I know who were users as children, and now as adults, they abusers. Like it just grew. It grew, and it's like all of that pacifying. It was the plant food to it. So having blessings and success around morally corrupt people, you're in danger because they don't all come the same way. They don't all come with bricks and stones. Some of them come with flowers, but then in the flower pot they got a knife in there, or they come with chocolates and they got raisins in the chocolates. So it's like and then depending on how long y'all been gaslit for, I don't know if you were gaslit longer than the propane tank at a Kentucky restaurant, but a lot of the times you already knew this about these people, but they gaslit you, society gaslit you. God forbid if you have toxic family, you were already pre-exposed to toxic people and being taught to love people through toxicity. Like the same way we train cats and dogs, we were trained as children and we didn't realize it, and the adults who trained us didn't realize it because they was trained. And they believe so much of the toxicity their parents portrayed that they made it their identity, which meant that us being taught to love them, we inadvertently loved toxicity. And that's why it's easy for people to be messed over in the world if you're being messed over at home because it feels like home. Even if you know it's wrong, even if it's bad enough for other people to get involved, something in your brain is reminded of something that you were used to. So character is important, but a lot of people don't want to fight that battle of character. They wave the white flag and they surrender, and then they just be consumed by these people. We see it all the time. We see it all the time, and it's been in movies forever since movies been out. Little stories of people betrayal and people turning on people and all of that. People don't turn on you. They never turned on you. They was playing the long game, and that's one thing you got to peep is when somebody playing a long game. It's very obvious, case by case basis, but every case that is there, depending on what method they're using, is always obvious. Because when a person playing a long game, it's a certain level of love they can't show you. And when they try to show you, when they try to love bomb you, it comes off very strange. Your nervous system screams when they do it. Like, yeah. But anyways, we got to finish this video. But one final reminder, making more money does not automatically make someone a better person. Real success includes emotional maturity, self awareness, discipline, responsibility. If someone earns more money but never grows mentally or emotionally, the money alone will not create a meaningful life. Growth should happen in both directions, financially and personally. We could look at every sports league for an example of that, baby. We could look at politicians for an example of that, baby. We could look at businesses for example of that, baby. Baby, it's so many examples. Just keep paying attention to it. Like when you're looking at things, take that spirit of social media out of yourself to where you always got to make the same repetitive ass comment and look deeper. Look at the patterns. Look at the connections. Look at how it impacts you as a person. If it doesn't impact you, look at if whether or not you portray those behaviors or if you experience those behaviors. Like people, I need y'all to get deeper than surface level because as long as y'all on surface level, y'all are being manipulated. People are scamming y'all left and right. And then you having scammers scamming y'all and telling y'all about the other scammers that scam y'all simultaneously while scamming y'all. Baby, it's social media has made it very easy for people to get supply. Usually they had to do all this stuff in person and have different events and stuff to get people together at one time. But now with the internet, they can literally control millions of people at one time, and you're being controlled. It may not be the same way your neighbor's being controlled, but you're being controlled. If you having money issues, you have you it's your fault still, but you're being controlled. Like it's still your car. You know, you're not driving the car that's on the road of life. That's why it's wrecking, but it's still your car. You know how they go with insurance. If you ever had an accident, and in closing, I think I got buku slides left. Okay, the typical time, y'all see that, and then I'm gonna read the closing statement. The HVAC trade isn't just about fixing machines, it's about learning a skill that people rely on every day. For many people, it becomes a path towards stability and opportunity, but like any worthwhile path, it requires focus, discipline, and patience. For those willing to put in work, it can truly become a way to build something from the bottom. Now, one thing I will say for you people that's still on social media, like if you have access to LinkedIn and all of that stuff, I said you people because I don't. If you consider YouTube social media, sure, but that's it. Um, the beauty in that is that with LinkedIn, you could probably follow different people who in the field that you're looking into, and if you friendly, you can network. But again, if you don't have emotional maturity, self-awareness, discipline, and responsibility, I personally don't recommend you just be randomly talking to strangers because again, you may meet a good Samaritan. Shout out to GSs. I see y'all. Or you may meet a person who manipulates people because we see all too often some of these people who have these titles don't even have them titles for real, and they use those titles to scam the people who need those titles. So like a HVAC person might have a fake profile and they use that to lure women or to pretend like they have something and things like that. But again, the internet is your oyster. Please make it work. And the HVAC trade isn't about fixing machines only. It's about learning a new skill that people rely on every day. For many people, it becomes a path towards stability, independence, and opportunity. But like any worthwhile path, it requires focus, discipline, and patience. Had to read that again. And for those willing to put in work. So yes, you won't have to be in a bind no more and having to call Nate, and Stevie won't send you back to the Rip Club. And this is a realistic example path. Attend trade school for 9 months, EPA Universal helper for 1 year, become a service technician by year 2 to 3, earn 70K to 100K. And this may also vary depending on what state you live in as well, too, because states have different laws. They have federal laws, but they also have state laws for different things. And as a bonus, I really didn't feel like doing stock footage, so I'll just take you to the stock website, take you through there. So that let me see. So we could just look. We could pretend that these are the clips that's in the video. Like, okay, there y'all go. Y'all have a great day. Oh, and also too, I don't be saying like, comment, and subscribe because this information matters more than whatever comes with YouTube, I guess. And again, I care more about people using this information to better themselves. So even if one person just better themselves, that's a whole life, and that person life impacts other people's life because we all connected, so it's a ripple effect. And so that matters to me, is the person to be the better person. I don't care about all of this stuff because, to be honest, I'm not rocking with having to interact with all of this stuff. It's too much. Not for me right now because I'm not doing it and I won't be doing it, but when I did try it, it was too much, not to mention very strange. But you have a great day and be ready for another episode, and then also another installment of this BBB or whatever the name of this shit is. Y'all have a good one.
Like, comment, and subscribe to J New Orleans.